Estate Show, a show about random things and occasionally some real estate. This show is brought to you by Houston's Home Connection team. I'm Tom Riggins, joined by Josh Arkless, and we just happen to be Houston's Home Connection team. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and at www.houstonshomeconnection.com. We'd like to welcome you to our 10th show. I am joined, as always, by my affable and slightly unshaved co-host, Josh Arkless. We're going to start changing some things up with Show 10 and going forward, starting with new video and sound equipment. We aren't really sure how it works, but it looks better. Today we'll be talking about football contracts, flipping houses, the iBuyer movement, and much more. We hope you'll stick around and enjoy the show.
Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed, Tom, but one of the things that brought to mind about the football contracts was Zeke Elliott, the running back from Dallas, is holding out. And it seems like this has just become common knowledge that even if you do have a signed contract, you hold out. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, is it serious to have a contract anymore? It doesn't seem like anybody abides by it.
I mean, I struggle with it. It's funny. I watch a guy on ESPN named Will Kane, and he's kind of somewhat controversial with his take on it. And he was talking today how he kind of leans towards, biased towards management, but I don't think it's it. I mean, he's really biased towards you signed a contract. So, abide by it. If you didn't want to sign the contract, you shouldn't have signed it. And so it's hypocritical in some ways. I think they look at all the money these guys have. This is the age-old thing you get into. Owners and the people who run a company or the bosses, they've got the money and everybody thinks they should have more. I've always looked at it as, well, I had the same ability to make what they made. And somebody argued one time, like, oh, no, I didn't. I'm like, you did. You just chose not to. You took the path you chose. They took the path they chose. And, now they're making decisions based on their path. So I struggle with it. I really do, because I think in our business, we have contracts. We run into things where somebody says, hey, I'll agree to this. And then next thing you know, they're like, well, I don't want to agree to that anymore. But, I mean, there's a contract.
Yeah, it seems with sports, I'm 50-50 on the situation, because it's weird, because you're almost coming out of college, you're a coveted player, you're trying to figure out what your worth is 4 to 5 years down the road. That's tough. And so I'm under the impression of, actually, I don't really know. I'm kind of torn on the situation. I feel like you should go with your contract, and when that contract's up, then you can negotiate. And we're going to have that situation with George Springer for the Astros coming up soon. But the holdouts, I just don't get it. Like, just show up. That's your duty. You signed a contract. Granted, you don't know what your worth is going to be in a few years, but that's why you'll be around, hopefully. And, if not, you made quite a bit of money. And if you did things right, you should have quite a bit of money later on down the road.
Well, another gentleman that was on one of the shows I was watching, who is a former player, he blamed it on the Players Association, lead, or whatever you call the guy, DeMaurice Smith. He's like, it was a horrible negotiation he made, because his point is, with running backs not being as valued as much anymore, they should have a 2-year contract to come out and then get to reevaluate, because they probably only have 3 years left. Whereas quarterbacks now are going deep into these things. It's like, okay, so if you get him on his rookie deal, and then the next one he signs is a monster deal for 5 years, well, he's getting what he gets. They're complaining, well, 5 years too long, and how do I know I'm going to be the top paid guy by then? But with running backs, his deal is, it was just a horrible bargain from the Players Association, but in the end, it's still the one that they agreed to live by.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's like the helmet thing with Antonio Brown.
Oh, God.
That's the one that bothers me, and going like, look, this is not, they've got $1 billion lawsuit over head injuries, but one guy says, well, I don't care, I'll sign a waiver. Do you know how much a waiver means whenever you're gone, or you're not in your right mind, and your family goes, well, my lawyer says that waiver's worth nothing. We want our money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is frustrating that sometimes people feel like, I don't care what somebody agreed to or what I agreed to, I just don't agree anymore.
Yeah. So I'm just torn on the situation. I'm 50-50 on it.
All right. Well, I want to change gears a little bit and give you a random thought of the day.
Oh boy.
Okay, are you ready for this?
Probably not.
Whenever you are cleaning a vacuum cleaner, you are a vacuum cleaner.
You are a vacuum cleaner.
That's my random thought, sponsored by Houston's Home Connection Team.
That's random as all get out.
Yesterday you and I were having a pretty good conversation. We both kind of have an itch, I guess, if you want to call it that, to flip a house. I don't even know if you call it that. It's interesting enough to us, but I think we both are in agreement. We don't know the first place to start. We have some ideas about how you might start, but I don't think we really know how to start. And I just thought we might touch base on that. I mean, I don't think we're the only ones interested in it. I get asked about it a lot, and unfortunately, my only answer is I don't really know myself. So, I mean, what are you thinking what's the first, if you were going to flip a house or going to try to get it, what's the first thing you think you would do?
I would do I'm already like this, but I would do some heavy research on the resale value in the area that you want to go. Obviously you see whatever you see on HGTV or flip this house, or please do not take that advice, because you're not in those situations. You're not in California, where you can buy a dump and then that dump is selling for $500,000. Here in the Houston, you may find a few of those hidden little gems, but definitely take your time and get with a realtor and find out what is actually sold in that neighborhood. What are the amenities of the home that did sell? How much money you'd have to throw into it? But it's all like you go back with anything. I believe it's with the location.
Yeah, I just struggle with, I think I saw on my next door site, somebody was complaining about how they just keep getting all these calls and letters, asking to buy their house. And they know what's up. They know that these people want to buy their house for really, really cheap to flip it. But I almost think that's just the only way you're going to go about getting one, is to try and get it. If you're waiting till somebody wants to put it on the market, even if they want to put it on at, as is price, they still want top dollar versus being able to get in there and try to, work out a deal that works with them. So that's my first hurdle to me that I just kind of blow up. But I think the next one we talked about was the fact that you kind of have to start thinking, are you going to do the work yourself or hire somebody? And hiring somebody isn't easy.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, you'll talk with anybody that's built a home or have remodeled a home. And actually, I have an ex-client who built a pool recently, and the pool's done, water's in, the whole 9 yards. He's still fighting with the patio contractor to come back out and finish the patio. There's nothing worse than having to deal with the contractors. So you'll hear these stories about these people gave X amount of $1,000 to their contractor. My God, I mean, I almost don't even trust my own wife or mom to give thousands of dollars to know that the job will be finished. Why would you give it to somebody you have no idea about? That's just crazy to me.
Right, and I think we did that. We remodeled our house and did some stuff, and we had to go through that. And it I don't know. It's different, I think, when you're talking about, hey, this is your remodeling our house. I'm still putting a massive amount of trust in them, but in the end, it's not. In other words, if I've bought a house and then I need to sell this house, and now I've got to put money into somebody, and them doing their job is how I'm going to get my money back. That's what can ruin you.
Yeah.
If somebody steals your money when you're remodeling your own house, it's like that sucks because you're out of money. If you've got money tied up in a house and now you can't sell it because you don't know how to fix it yourself, now you're really hosed. So I think between that and us talking about that, it's hard to get good contract help just because they're already tied up with so many other people that have multiple jobs for them. They're not really going to come over and do your little one podunk job. So you and I both talked about, we thought we'd like to do a lot of our own sweat equity, and you save money that way, and even get our kids involved and help them learn about work ethic and stuff. So I think it's something that we both feel we might try. I mean, we talked about doing a podcast for a year, and now here we are. And if we ever do, we will we'll definitely bring the results back and open our hearts to everybody, so what it's like to go through it.
Well, I will just say this. If you are thinking about trying, I know plenty of dumb people who've tried and succeeded. So that needs to give you any indication of it's not, I'll never say it's easy, but if you just do the right homework, you'll be all right.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I have a random real estate fact of my own, and this random fact is actually sponsored by the Houston's Home Connection team, the Lake Houston go-to real estate team. Now, Tom, I don't know if you knew this or not, but in Scotland, homeowners paint their front door red when they paid off their mortgage.
I did not know that.
So what you're more or less telling all your friends and family is that you are not very financially set when your front door is not red.
Well, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at our logo that's right behind your head, and we have a red door. That's pretty cool. I think I knew it meant a lot of things in different cultures, but I did not know that one. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was a random fact of the day. But so this morning, something popped across my social media site, and that was an iBuyer situation. A lot of you folks may have been hearing about the iBuyer through different formats, but this was actually broken down by Cody Thompson. He's with Chicago Title out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I thought it was a good breakdown of the cost between using a realtor and then having an iBuyer come in and buy your home. And Tom, did you have a chance to take a peek at this?
Yeah, I actually have it pulled up in front of me on my computer so I can kind of look at it. And I had seen the same thing. Somebody else had posted it. And, you and I have talked for a while. I have somebody used an iBuyer on a house just down the street from me. And I keep wondering, like, how much did they pay them versus what they're asking and, what's realistic. And I've asked a few people. Nobody's ever wanted to kind of pony up like, hey, here's what they paid me. I'm just curious. I think they're afraid I'm going to chastise them or get mad that they didn't use me. And I'm really just curious because if somebody really needed this for themselves, I would gladly turn them on to an iBuyer if that's what was best.
Yeah.
But I don't want to turn them on to it if they're going to get hosed. And if I look at this infographic, and by the way, if you're watching our simulcast, this infographic is, you can see it's up. If not, be sure and go find us on YouTube or our Facebook page, and you can watch the video. But you can see the infographic we're talking about.
Yeah, and I'll quickly run through these. If you don't have the ability and you're just listening and not viewing us, but so the realtor versus iBuyer market price with a realtor 505, iBuyer 454 500. Balance on this person's first mortgage lien 250, both 250. Closing costs with a realtor 2435. Closing costs iBuyer 2312. Commission with a realtor 30,300, and so that'll be the kicker right there, right? Because there's no commission on the iBuyer side,
right?
But right underneath that is something unique that buyers probably will not know about, or sellers won't know about, is we don't charge a service fee, but the service fee with an iBuyer program on this one is $34,000. Okay. Personally, I'm not even real sure what a service fee is because we don't charge it. Never came across it, don't use it. Repairs. Now that's all negotiable. With an iBuyer program, these companies might force you to have repairs upwards of $15,000. And in this case, the repairs were almost $16,000 on a price of $454,500. Holding costs $0 with a realtor, $548 with a iBuyer program. Net with a realtor, $220,000, $798. Net on a iBuyer program, $149,000, with a total cost of convenience, which means out of your pocket, you're losing $71,000 by using the iBuyer program.
Right, and so the service fee, really, I'm reading this one and it says it's in lieu of commissions, but it can and so what they did is these are all kind of numbers based on information they have, so they're not necessarily perfect. But what I'm seeing here is it can reach up to 35 or let me see, hang on,
13.
Yeah, up to 13% of the cost, and that's where they're coming up with this largest number. I do know for a fact I've heard of people who turned around and said, okay, that's a good price, and then got hit with 15 to 20,000 in repair costs. So that's where it's all going to come in, is when they're going to knock you down with these other things. And if you're not doing a full blown comparison with an agent, I mean, I don't know how many people are going to listen to this and how many people are thinking about it listening to this, but I'm going to tell you this much. Josh and I have zero problems giving you the information you need to make a good decision. Because if you're thinking about going iBuyer, we're not going to tell you a price that we can't sell your house for. We're going to show you the facts. Say, here's what your house should sell for based on all the other comps. Here's a net sheet based on actual closing costs that we can verify to you. So here's your net. If you already can figure out what your net with an iBuyer is, we'd love to show you the difference. You use whoever you want, but man, I just feel like so many people are I just think they don't educate themselves, and they think they're getting a good deal, and they have no clue how much they're really losing.
Yeah. And I just want to point out a full disclosure on this. Tom and I have, sold many homes, and that's not to pat ourselves on the back, but we sold from $100,000 up to $1 million homes. And I have yet to run in a sequence or a scenario where I've needed my client to pay $15,000 in repairs. That's an unheard of number to me. And frankly, if the home needs $16,000 worth of repairs, you might want to take a quick look and see if that's the home you need.
Yeah, that number jumping out. You're right. I mean, I've come up with some. Hey, we'll take $5,000 in lieu of the repair of the roof. We're talking literally about the repair of a roof.
Yeah.
And somebody said, I'll take $5,000 for that. Hearing these $15,000 and $16,000, you're never going to have a buyer ask you that. And if you do, you're probably just going to say, forget it and move on. But I mean, at that point, I almost feel like the house needs to be condemned. If it's got $16,000 worth of damage, it's like you had major problems. And the thing is, you're going off their word. You could have your own. I think I've heard some people say they went and had their own inspection done. The inspector was like, no, this is this. Mm-hmm. These iBuyers are like, well, we don't care. This is what we're charging.
Yeah, so, they don't care. That's, you're working with a firm who is a business, a corporate business by that, who is trying to make a buck. So that's that. I mean, if the cost of convenience is $71,000 for you, then hey, man, I'm with you on that. Go ahead and move forward. But that's just not for me. I can buy a book at Amazon for $10, but I'll go to Barnes & Noble for $15 if it's, going to be a little bit more.
Sure. Well, guys, we hope you have enjoyed our show. This is, as we said, show number 10, and we've made some changes in how we do it. We're trying to get a little bit more streamlined and have some things where we don't get off on our little rabbit trails and keep ourselves in line. So we hope you've enjoyed the show. If you've got any comments, if there's anything you'd like Josh and I to just talk about, be sure and send it to us in comments, emails, any way you'd like to, and we'll be more than happy to include it in the show.
Yeah, so we thank you for listening to the Random Real Estate Show. Join us again next week when we talk about more random thoughts and possibly even sprinkle in some tangible information. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes so you never miss an episode. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page, Houston's Home Connection Team. And if you're needing any real estate advice, don't forget to contact the HHC team, your go-to Lake Houston real estate team. Take care.